Today I want to talk about a difficult topic. My friends, my family have all told me how much they want a relationship with me now that I have left Mormonism, but they say we have to agree to disagree. And I guess we can do that if we have to, but they're asking a little more. They're asking something I can't do. There's just no way that I can do this. You see, what they're saying is that they're not willing to associate with me unless I first agree to a list of prohibited topics. There are things that I can never say. I'm just not allowed to talk about certain things. And I got to tell you, I don't know how that's going to work. You see, if one restricts the voice of another, how is that a relationship? How is that a friendship? How is that a partnership of any equality? It's not. It's a dictator. It's a dictatorship. It's a theocracy. I don't know. I just don't see how it's going to work. You see, what they keep telling me is, share your faith with us. We want to know about your faith, about your love for God, about your relationship with Jesus. We want to know all about those things, but you can do that only to the degree that you do not disagree with their Mormonism, with our Mormonism. That's what they're saying. Say whatever you want to say. Share the love and light you have for Christ, but don't share anything that doesn't completely and totally agree with Mormonism. So I opened my Bible. I just wanted to take a look. What can I talk about? If I open my Bible, is there anything that I can talk about? Well, I realized very quickly that I can't talk about the origins of God, according to John 1:1. I can't speak of the nature of God, Isaiah 43:10 and 11. I can't speak of the conception of Christ, Luke 1:35. I can't speak of the day Jesus announced his ministry in the synagogue in Nazareth. He opened the scroll and he read from the book of Isaiah. That story is in Luke 4:16 through 19. And I can't talk about that because that would disagree with Mormonism. I can't speak of the Sermon on the Mount because it virtually all of it teaches of the hopelessness of the law and our reliance on Christ, on his grace, on his forgiveness alone. I can't speak about the parables because virtually all of them speak of grace. As we read the parables, we see grace in action. And, you know, the world was in a very interesting time at this point. The old law had been fulfilled. Jesus had fulfilled the law and he was bringing the new gospel. And with the new gospel, we were freed from the chains and the bondage of the law and set free by grace. And the parables teach us this. I can't speak of the 7 woes, Matthew 23. I can't speak of false prophets and teachers, 2 Peter 2:1 through 4, Matthew 23:1 through 4, Matthew 7:15 through 20, and many, many more. In fact, in the margin of my Bible, I have documented 24 similar passages that talk about false prophets and teachers. I can't talk about our responsibility in dealing with false prophets and teachers, as documented in Deuteronomy 13:1 through 5, Deuteronomy 18:20 through 22, Galatians 1:8, Acts 17:1. All of these would be off limits. I can't speak of grace versus works, Galatians 5:2 through 4, Ephesians 2:8 and 9, James 2:10 and 11. James 2:10 and 11, it speaks about how if we try to justify ourselves by the law, and if we keep the entirety of the law and stumble on one point, we're guilty of all of it. And, you know, that is what the law did to people, is you had to keep it perfectly or be lost, because no unclean thing can enter the kingdom of heaven. I can't speak of the entire Sermon on the Mount because it points to the fact that works alone will never save us. In fact, we can't even begin to qualify, so we must rely on the one true source of salvation, and that is Jesus Christ, by grace through our faith and belief in him. I have 56 additional passages in my Bible that document this same subject. We can't talk about the priesthood or temples. The entire book of Hebrews would have to just be eliminated and marked off limits. We can't speak of the total and absolute trustworthiness of the Bible. We couldn't speak of the many, many thousands of manuscripts from antiquity that prove the Word of God has been preserved all the way back to the time of the apostles. You see, Mormonism says that the Bible has been corrupted. But the facts tell us that's not true. You see, we are required to search and discuss all of these prohibited topics. Every one of them we are required to do. Paul said, test everything and hold fast to that which is good. John said, beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God, for many false prophets have gone out into the world. You see, we're supposed to test everything. Of the Berean followers of Christ, Luke wrote, now these Jews were more noble than those in Thessalonica. They received the word with eagerness, examining the scriptures daily to see if these things were so. You see, these followers, they even tested the words of Silas and the amazing apostle Paul. None of it was taken for granted. None of it was just treated as if it was truth. But the Berean saints, they took the words they heard from Silas and Paul, and then they opened the scriptures. They compared the words of Silas and Paul with the words of God, and as far as they aligned, they were accepted. And if they heard anything that wouldn't align, they would have rejected Paul. Thankfully, they didn't have to. Many of my Mormon loved ones say that by refusing their mandates, I destroy relationships, friendships, and even my own family. I say that by agreeing to the terms that they dictate, they are forcing me to choose them over Jesus. Now, if these are my choices, if I have to choose the people I love over the God I love, Jesus is and will always, always be my choice. You know, Jeremiah, the prophet Jeremiah, he had the same exact problem. His friends denounced him, told him to shut up, to speak no more of God. And so in Jeremiah 29, he wrote, if I say, I will not mention him or speak any more of his name, there is in my heart, as it were, a burning fire shut up in my bones, and I am weary of holding it in, and I cannot. Me and Jeremiah, we be mates.